Have you ever felt like you've given everything to your children, only to find yourself abandoned when you need them most? It's a heartbreaking reality many parents experience, and if you've ever wondered how to balance your love for your children with maintaining your well-being, this video is for you. In today's video, we'll explore 3 key mistakes that many parents unknowingly make while raising their children. Mistakes that can lead to emotional burnout, strained relationships, and ultimately leave parents feeling unappreciated and exhausted. You'll discover how to love your children without losing your sense of self in the process, and why setting clear boundaries isn't just for your peace of mind. It benefits your children, too, in ways you may not have expected. By the time you finish watching, you'll have practical advice on how to maintain your independence, avoid overindulging your children, and why, at times, the best way to show your love is to give them the space to grow on their own. You'll also hear a compelling real-life story of a mother who learned the hard way that sacrificing everything for her children is not always the healthiest path, and how she ultimately found peace by making a bold decision to reclaim her own life. Stick around until the end, and you'll gain insights into healthy family dynamics and find the courage to prioritize your happiness. You'll discover how to build stronger, more balanced relationships with your children and, ultimately, how to live a life that's fulfilling for you. This could be the turning point you've been waiting for. Before we get started, if you're not already subscribed, I encourage you to hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell so you won't miss any of the upcoming videos. Your support means the world to me, and if you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it with anyone who might benefit from the lessons we're about to discuss. If you agree with the message of this video, please comment 1 below. If you have suggestions for how I can improve, let me know by commenting 0. Now, let's dive in. 1. Don't make your children the center of your life. No matter how old you are, it's crucial not to place your children at the absolute center of your life. When they're young, we protect them with everything we've got, ensuring they eat, sleep, and play in the safest conditions, as if it's our life's greatest mission. But as they grow, many of us continue to pour ourselves into their well-being. We sacrifice our time, our energy, and even our personal needs to provide the best possible environment for their education, their development, and their happiness. As they start their own families, the tendency for many parents is to stay close, helping with grandchildren, easing the burden on their children, and trying to alleviate their struggles. For some, children become not just a source of motivation but the very purpose of life, their only reason for living. But here's the thing, it doesn't have to be that way. Take a step back and consider this. Our lives are not just about our children. Yes, loving our children is incredibly important, but we also have a responsibility to nurture our own lives and happiness. We must remember that we have the right to live for ourselves, to invest in our partners, our friends, and even our passions. Psychology studies have shown that parents who depend entirely on their children, who see them as the sole purpose of their existence, are at risk of falling into emptiness once their children grow up and begin to live their own lives. What's more, this kind of intense reliance can unknowingly place immense pressure on our children. They need room to grow, explore, and shape their oaths. Think for a moment about how many of your dreams you've postponed or abandoned in the name of family responsibilities. Putting your own life on hold is not selfish, it's necessary for your well-being. When parents maintain a healthy balance, they set a positive example for their children. Living a balanced life doesn't mean neglecting your children. It means that by caring for yourself, you become a source of joy, inspiration, and stability for them. Children benefit from seeing their parents pursue their happiness and live fulfilling lives. When parents take care of themselves, it creates an atmosphere of security and joy within the family. It's a win-win for everyone involved. 2. Don't fulfill all of your children's demands. As parents, the desire to give our children the best possible life is completely natural and admirable. We want to protect them, nurture them, and make sure they have every opportunity to succeed. However, there's a fine line between providing for them and overindulging them, and crossing that line can set them up for failure later in life. The reality is that while it's important to show love and care, It's equally important to set clear boundaries and teach our children that not everything is handed to them on a silver platter. Loving your children doesn't mean fulfilling every single request or need they have. Instead, it's about teaching them valuable life lessons, helping them understand what's right and wrong, encouraging them to become independent, and guiding them toward taking responsibility for their own lives. When they accomplish something good, praise them, encourage them, and help them build their confidence. But don't fall into the trap of excessively protecting them or trying to shield them from every inconvenience. This kind of overprotection can prevent them from learning important life skills and make them overly reliant on others. Let's take a simple example. Imagine you've planned a weekend getaway with friends, and your child calls to ask if you can watch the grandchildren. Of course, you want to help, but it's important to have the strength to say no. Saying no doesn't make you a bad parent, and it certainly doesn't mean you don't love them. If your children truly understand and respect you, they'll support your decision. As we get older, it's vital to remember that we, too, need time for rest, relaxation, and to enjoy the fruits of our labor. We need time to maintain our health and happiness. That means it's perfectly okay to take a step back and not rush to fulfill every request that comes our way. We should support our children during challenging times, but we also need to recognize when it's not necessary to interfere. Overextending ourselves doesn't help them in the long run. It only makes them more dependent and may even cause them to take your help for granted. The love parents give their children is not about doing everything for them. It's about knowing when to step in and when to let them learn on their own. By doing what is necessary in the right circumstances, we not only protect our well-being but also help our children grow into capable, independent adults. In the end, this creates a much more harmonious and fulfilling life for both parents and children. 3. Don't live with your children. If possible, it's wise to avoid living under the same roof as your children. As parents, it's natural to want to be close to our children, to help them with their lives, and to strengthen the family bond. However, when we take a step back and think about it logically, it becomes clear that living with our children may not be the best choice for anyone involved. Many psychologists and sociologists agree that while we love our children deeply, we also have an inherent desire for personal space. It's just part of being human. And that natural need for space can be complicated when two generations live together in the same household. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Living under the same roof exposes each other's daily habits and quirks, and while that's part of any family dynamic, it can also lead to tension and conflict. Small annoyances can add up, and before long, the peaceful atmosphere that a family should have can be replaced with frustration. It's much easier for misunderstandings and hurt feelings to arise when there's little room for each person to breathe. Constant proximity can bring out each other's character flaws in ways that are hard to avoid or ignore. On the other hand, maintaining a healthy distance from your children allows for a more harmonious relationship. When we don't live together, every visit or family gathering becomes more special. There's something magical about the time you spend together when it's not an everyday occurrence. That time apart allows for both sides to appreciate each other more deeply. The distance creates a sense of longing and anticipation, which can lead to more genuine affection and care. It allows both parties to miss each other, and that missing leads to more compassion and understanding. Moreover, by living independently, parents set an excellent example for their children. When parents show they can care for themselves and live on their terms, they demonstrate the value of independence. This, in turn, encourages children to grow into self-sufficient adults who understand the importance of creating healthy boundaries in their relationships. It helps to foster a more balanced dynamic where both parents and children feel respected, supported, and empowered to lead their own lives. Living independently doesn't mean cutting off from your family. It simply means maintaining a healthy space to ensure that the love, respect, and understanding in the relationship can thrive. In the long run, this separation leads to stronger, more stable relationships where both parents and children can live happier, more fulfilling lives. Yoko Tanaka's story. This is the story of a woman in her later years who, after years of caring for her children, found herself abandoned by them when she needed help the most. Her story serves as a valuable lesson for all of us. Hello, my name is Margaret Thompson, and I'm 65 years old. My late husband, Robert, and I worked tirelessly throughout our lives to raise our 3 children. Our oldest, David, our middle son, Michael, and our youngest, Sarah. They each grew up, got married, and started their own families. Now, they all have children of their own, grandchildren that I love dearly. For years, I truly believed that when Robert and I reached our senior years, our children would be there for us, just as we had always been there for them. But as time went on, reality didn't unfold the way I had imagined. When we were raising our kids, no matter how difficult our financial situation was, Robert and I always prioritized their needs. We wanted the best for them. We sacrificed so much to send David to a private school, even though it strained our budget. We encouraged Michael to pursue his passion for sports, even when it meant cutting back on other expenses. And when Sarah showed an interest in fashion, we supported her dreams, even though we could only afford to give her a limited allowance for lessons. By the time our children became adults, Robert and I had little to nothing saved up, but we felt fulfilled and rewarded by their success and happiness. David went on to work for a prestigious company, Michael became a local government official, and Sarah married and moved to the city. However, when Robert turned 70, he suddenly fell ill, and just a few months later, he passed away. After his death, I found myself living alone. At first, my children would visit regularly. Sarah would bring her children over for playdates, Michael came by once a month, and David would call when he could. But slowly, the visits became less frequent. I told myself that they were just busy with their own lives, but as time went on, I began to feel the weight of their absence. One day, I couldn't ignore it anymore. I decided to reach out to David. When I called him, his voice was distant, and he coldly told me, "I'm busy, Mom. I can't call that often." That was when the first wave of anxiety settled in my heart. I started to realize that the support I had always counted on was slipping away. When I asked for help, as my health began to deteriorate, I realized I needed medical treatment. Unfortunately, my pension wasn't enough to cover my living expenses, so I decided to reach out to my children for help. I contacted each of them, hoping they could take turns helping me with the care I needed. David told me he was too busy with work to help out. Michael, who lived nearby, said his wife didn't want him to be involved. Sarah, who had a family of her own, claimed that it was the responsibility of her brothers to take care of me. At that moment, I felt an overwhelming sense of abandonment. I couldn't stop the tears from falling as I realized that none of them were willing to step up. The change brought by redevelopment. Not long after, plans for redevelopment in my neighborhood were announced. I saw this as an opportunity to make a fresh start, so I decided to sell my old house. In return, I received 2 brand new apartments and a significant compensation check. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. When my children heard about this sudden change, their attitudes shifted drastically. David, who had never shown much interest in my living situation before, suddenly expressed concern about me living alone. He offered to take me in. Michael, who had always been a bit distant, suggested I use one of the apartments for myself, and Sarah, who had never been shy about offering her opinion, even said it would be best if we all lived together. At first, I was taken aback. But as I considered their sudden interest in my affairs, I couldn't ignore the feeling that something was off. It became glaringly obvious that they were more interested in the value of the apartments and the compensation I had received than in actually helping me. Their offers didn't feel like a genuine concern. It felt like they were eyeing the financial benefits that came with the change. Margaret's decision. I realized then that I had been giving too much of myself for too long without receiving the support I had hoped for in return. So, I made a decision. I sold one of the apartments and used the money to move into a senior living community that offered services and support. The other apartment I rented out created a source of income that would help me stay comfortable and independent. I made it clear to my children that they no longer needed to visit or check in on me regularly. It was a painful decision, but it was necessary. Over the years, I had been hurt too many times by their indifference and selfishness. I finally realized that I needed to prioritize my well-being and independence. The time had come to reclaim my life, live on my terms, and stop waiting for the support that I had been led to believe would come. The lesson. So, after hearing my story, what do you think? Parental love is deep, unconditional, and everlasting. But as parents, it's just as important to value our happiness and independence. We can't keep sacrificing ourselves for our children without considering our own needs. Instead of holding on to expectations about what our children should do for us, we must be ready to walk our path. We are entitled to live our lives with dignity, joy, and fulfillment, just as much as our children are. That's the lesson I want to share with you. Love your children, of course, but never forget to love and care for yourself. When we take care of our happiness, we set an example for our children and give them the space they need to grow and thrive independently. So, what have you learned from today's story? The journey of Margaret Thompson teaches us some powerful lessons about love, boundaries, and taking care of ourselves. It shows us that while we can give everything to our children, it's just as important to prioritize our happiness and well-being. Setting boundaries, maintaining independence, and understanding that our children can grow without us sacrificing everything for them are vital lessons that can help us create healthier, more fulfilling family dynamics. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What's one thing you've learned today that you'll start practicing in your own life? Whether it's setting healthier boundaries, embracing your independence, or any of the other lessons we've discussed, let us know in the comments below. If you like this video, please leave your comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more valuable insights. Your support means so much, and I'm so grateful to have you here. Thanks for watching, and remember, taking care of yourself is not selfish, it's necessary for a fulfilling life. See you in the next video.